The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of the Fairmont Hotel in San Francisco, casting golden rays across the bridal suite where my sister Emma was getting ready. I adjusted the delicate pearl buttons on the back of her vintage lace dress, the same one our grandmother wore in 1952. The city skyline stretched out behind us, a perfect backdrop for what was supposed to be the perfect day. "Sarah, you're trembling," Emma said, catching my reflection in the ornate mirror. "Are you more nervous than I am?" I forced a laugh, smoothing down my emerald bridesmaid dress. "Just emotional, Em. You look absolutely radiant." What I didn't tell her was that I'd been feeling uneasy all morning. My husband David had been acting strange for weeks. Distant phone calls, working late, that subtle shift in intimacy that wives notice but dismiss as stress from his demanding job at the tech startup downtown. The ceremony was everything Emma had dreamed of. 200 guests filled the hotel's grand ballroom, transformed with cascading white roses and twinkling fairy lights. I walked down the aisle ahead of Emma, David's eyes meeting mine from the third row. He looked handsome in his navy suit, the one I'd helped him pick out just last month. For a moment, everything felt normal again. As Emma and Jake exchanged vows, I found myself studying the faces around me, my parents in the front row, tears streaming down Mom's cheeks. Our college friends scattered throughout the crowd, and there, 2 rows behind David, was Jessica, Emma's maid of honor, and my former college roommate. She looked stunning in the same emerald dress as the rest of us bridesmaids, her auburn hair perfectly styled. During the reception, David seemed to relax. He complimented my speech, danced with me during the first dance medley, and even joked with my Uncle Robert about the Raiders' disappointing season. The Seattle-style salmon was perfectly prepared. The champagne flowed freely, and Emma's laughter echoed across the ballroom as she danced with our father. I was standing near the dessert table, discussing the wedding cake flavors with one of Emma's cousins, when I noticed David wasn't at our table anymore. The band was playing something slow and romantic, one of those songs that makes you want to hold someone close. "Excuse me," I murmured, scanning the dimly lit ballroom. I found him on the hotel's outdoor terrace. The cool October air carried the scent of jasmine from the garden below. At first, I thought he was alone, perhaps getting some fresh air or taking a business call. But as I stepped closer to the glass doors, my breath caught in my throat. David was there, all right, but he wasn't alone. Jessica stood with her back against the stone railing, David's hands cupping her face, and they were kissing. Not a friendly peck, not an accidental brush of lips during a group photo. This was intimate, passionate, desperate, the kind of kiss that spoke of secret meetings and whispered promises. Time seemed to stop. The music from inside became muffled, distant. My heart pounded so loudly I was certain they could hear it. I watched, frozen, as David's fingers tangled in Jessica's hair, the same way he used to touch mine during our early days of dating at Stanford. They pulled apart, foreheads touching, and I heard Jessica whisper something that made David smile. That smile, God, that smile used to be mine. I stepped back from the glass doors, my legs trembling. Around me, the reception continued in full swing. Guests laughed and clinked glasses, completely oblivious to the fact that my entire world had just shattered into a million pieces on the Italian marble floor. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 30 seconds. My mind raced through 1,000 thoughts at once. How long had this been going on? Was Jessica the reason for David's late nights? Did Emma know? Did anyone else know? The worst part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was the way they looked together. Comfortable. Familiar. This wasn't a drunken mistake or a moment of weakness. This was a relationship. I forced myself to walk back into the ballroom, my heels clicking against the marble floor with a rhythm that seemed to mock me. Betrayed. 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 The noise hit me like a wave. Laughter, music, the clink of silverware against china. Everything was exactly as I'd left it, but I felt like I was watching it all through glass. "Sarah," my cousin Michelle grabbed my arm. "Where did you disappear to? You missed Emma tossing the bouquet." I looked across the room to see my sister beaming, surrounded by a group of single women all trying to catch the falling flowers. The bouquet landed in the hands of David's coworker, a sweet girl named Lisa, who blushed as everyone cheered. "I just needed some air," I managed to say. David and Jessica came back inside separately. Jessica first, smoothing down her hair and checking her lipstick in a small, compact mirror. David followed 2 minutes later, adjusting his tie and running a hand through his hair. They didn't look at each other, but there was an energy between them, an invisible thread that I now couldn't unsee. David slid into the seat next to me at our table. "Hey babe, where were you? I was looking for you." The casual lie hit me like a physical blow. I studied his face. This man I'd been married to for 4 years, lived with for 6. The same face that used to be the first thing I wanted to see every morning and the last thing every night. "Just mingling," I said, my voice sounding foreign to my own ears. He reached for my hand, and I had to fight every instinct not to pull away. His touch, once comforting and familiar, now felt like a lie against my skin. The band announced the cutting of the cake, and we all gathered around Emma and Jake. I stood between David and my mother, watching my sister feed cake to her new husband, while everyone laughed and took pictures. The photographer captured every moment, the joy, the laughter, the love. Would anyone looking at these photos later notice the woman in the emerald dress who looked like she was about to be sick? During the cake cutting, I caught Jessica watching David. It was subtle, just a glance, but I saw it. I saw everything now. The way she'd touched his shoulder earlier when she laughed at his joke. The way he'd held her gaze a beat too long during the toasts. All the little moments I'd dismissed as nothing were suddenly everything. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend Rachel, who couldn't make it due to her baby being sick. "How's the wedding? Send pics. Is David behaving himself?" The laughing emoji felt like a cruel joke. I excused myself to the ladies' room, needing a moment to breathe. The powder room was mercifully empty, all pink marble and golden fixtures. I stared at myself in the mirror, this woman in the beautiful dress at the beautiful wedding whose life had just been turned upside down. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone and did something I never thought I'd do. I called my divorce attorney. Martha Henley had handled my friend Karen's divorce 2 years ago. It was late, but I knew she kept her phone on for emergencies. This felt like an emergency. "Martha, it's Sarah Williams. I know it's late, but I need to ask you something. If I wanted to file for divorce, how quickly could you draw up papers?" "Sarah, honey, are you all right?" Martha's voice was gentle but professional, even at 9:30 p.m. on a Saturday. "What's happened?" I told her everything in a whispered rush. The kiss, the lies, the growing suspicions I'd been ignoring for months. Martha listened without judgment, occasionally asking clarifying questions about our assets, our home, our joint accounts. "I can have preliminary papers ready by Monday morning," she said finally. "But Sarah, are you sure you want to do this so quickly? Maybe you should talk to David first. Consider couples counseling." "I've seen enough," I interrupted. 4 years of marriage, and he's kissing my sister's maid of honor at her wedding. There's nothing to discuss. When I returned to the reception, the band was playing "At Last" by Etta James, the song David and I had danced to at our own wedding. He was at the bar with some of his college friends, laughing at something his buddy Mike was saying. For a moment, he looked like the man I'd fallen in love with. Charming, handsome, the guy who used to leave little notes in my coffee mug every morning. But that man was a lie. Or maybe I was the lie, and Jessica was his truth. I spent the rest of the evening playing the part of the happy wife. I smiled for photos, made small talk with relatives, and even danced with David during the anniversary dance when they called for all married couples. As we swayed to the music, his arms around me, I felt nothing but emptiness. "You seem quiet tonight," he murmured against my ear. "Just tired," I lied. "It's been a long day. Want to head back to the room soon. We could order room service, open that bottle of champagne from the gift basket." The suggestion that would have thrilled me that morning now made me nauseous. "Sure," I said, after Emma and Jake leave. The traditional send-off was beautiful. 200 guests lining the hotel's grand staircase, waving sparklers as the newlyweds made their way to the waiting car that would take them to the airport for their honeymoon in Tuscany. Emma's dress train trailed behind her like a white river, and Jake couldn't stop smiling. As they drove away, I felt a pang of envy so sharp it took my breath away. They were starting their life together with honesty, with trust, with real love. Everything I thought I had but never really did. The guests began to disperse, some heading home, others continuing the party in the hotel bar. David was saying goodbye to his college friends, making plans for golf next weekend, plans that assumed our life would continue as normal. I hugged Emma's friends, kissed my parents goodnight, and made all the appropriate noises about what a beautiful ceremony it had been. Through it all, I avoided Jessica. I couldn't trust myself to be civil, and I wouldn't ruin Emma's perfect day with a scene. Back in our hotel room, David loosened his tie and kicked off his dress shoes. "Great wedding," he said, heading for the bathroom. "Your sister looked incredible. And that band was fantastic. We should get their card for the company party next month." I sat on the edge of the bed, still in my bridesmaid dress, and wondered how he could act so normal. How could he kiss another woman and then come back and plan our future like nothing had happened? When he came out of the bathroom, I was sitting in the armchair by the window, still fully dressed. "You okay, babe? You've been weird all evening." "Have I?" I asked quietly. He studied my face, and for a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of guilt, but then he shrugged and started unbuttoning his shirt. "Long day," he said. "Come to bed." I stayed in the chair, watching the city lights twinkle below. "David, do you love me?" He paused, shirt half unbuttoned. "What kind of question is that?" "Of course I love you. Are you happy? In our marriage?" "Sarah, what's this about? You're starting to worry me." I turned to look at him, really look at him. "Just answer the question." He sat down on the bed, facing me. "Yes, I'm happy. We're happy. We have a good life, a nice house, good jobs. We're planning to start trying for kids next year. Of course I'm happy." But he couldn't meet my eyes when he said it. I nodded slowly. Okay, that's it? That's it." I went to the bathroom and carefully removed my makeup, unpinned my hair, and changed into the silk nightgown I'd packed specially for tonight. In the mirror, I looked like the same woman who'd gotten dressed 12 hours ago, but everything had changed. When I came back out, David was already in bed, scrolling through his phone, probably texting Jessica, I thought bitterly. I slipped into bed beside him, maintaining careful distance. He reached for me, but I pretended to be asleep. In the darkness, I made my plans. Monday morning arrived gray and drizzling, a perfect reflection of my mood. David had left early for a breakfast meeting, kissing my forehead and reminding me to call the florist about flowers for his mother's birthday party next weekend. I sat at our kitchen table with a cup of coffee that had gone cold, staring at the manila envelope Martha had messengered over at dawn. Inside were the divorce papers, clean, official, and devastating in their simplicity. My phone rang. Emma calling from her layover in London. "Sarah, I had to call you before our next flight. Wasn't yesterday just perfect? I can't believe I'm actually married." Her joy was infectious, and for a moment, I almost forgot about my own misery. "It was beautiful, Em. You looked like a princess. I have to tell you something," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Jake and I saw David and Jessica talking on the terrace during the reception. It looked intense. Is everything okay?" My blood turned to ice. "What do you mean intense?" "I don't know. They just seemed really close. Jessica has been asking about David a lot lately. How long you've been married, if you're happy, that sort of thing. I thought it was weird, but I didn't want to say anything and seem paranoid. So my sister had noticed too. How many other people had seen signs I'd missed? "Sarah, are you there?" "I'm here," I managed. "Emma, I need to tell you something, but not now. Not while you're on your honeymoon." "Oh God, something is wrong. I knew it." "Sarah, what happened?" I closed my eyes. They were kissing, Em. On the terrace. I saw them. The silence stretched across the Atlantic Ocean. "That fucking bitch," Emma whispered finally. "I'm coming home." "No, you're not. You're going to Italy with your husband, and you're going to have the most amazing honeymoon. This is my problem to handle. Sarah, Emma, I mean it. Don't let my mess ruin your happiness. I'll handle this." After I hung up, I sat in the silence of our suburban kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of the life David and I had built together. Wedding photos on the refrigerator, his coffee mug still in the sink, the mortgage papers we'd signed just last year stacked on the counter next to bills and takeout menus. At 11 o'clock, my phone buzzed with a text from David. "Working late again tonight. Don't wait up. Love you." The casual cruelty of it, lying to me while telling me he loved me, was the final straw. I called Martha. "I'm ready." An hour later, I was sitting in a downtown office building, signing papers that would end my marriage. Martha walked me through everything: asset division, spousal support, the timeline for proceedings. "Are you sure you don't want to wait?" she asked one final time. "Once we file these, there's no going back quietly." "I'm sure." The plan was simple. David's tech company was having their monthly team dinner that Thursday at Chez Laurent, the upscale French restaurant downtown. He'd mentioned it last week, complaining about having to schmooze with clients. I knew he'd invite Jessica. They worked in different departments, but these events were always company-wide. I made a reservation for one, requesting a table with a view of the main dining room. Thursday evening, I dressed carefully in the black dress David had always said was his favorite, did my hair the way he liked it, and arrived at Chez Laurent at 7:30. The hostess seated me at a perfect corner table, where I could see everything, but remain relatively hidden behind a decorative column. David's party arrived at 8, a group of about 15 people, including several executives and their spouses. David looked handsome in his charcoal suit, playing the part of the successful marketing director, and there was Jessica, stunning in a red dress that hugged her curves, hanging on his every word. I ordered wine and watched them throughout dinner. The subtle touches, the shared glances, the way they seemed to communicate without words. Other people at the table probably thought they were just friendly colleagues. I knew better. During the main course, David excused himself to take a call. Jessica followed 2 minutes later. I knew exactly where they were going. The restaurant's secluded wine cellar bar, accessible through a side entrance. I left money on my table and followed. The wine cellar was dimly lit, intimate, designed for romantic conversations. David and Jessica were in a corner booth, his hand covering hers on the table, their heads close together. "Can't keep doing this," Jessica was saying. "It's not fair to any of us." "I know," David replied, "but I can't lose you. These past 3 months have been the happiest I've been in years." 3 months. 3 months of lies, of coming home to me and pretending everything was normal. "What about Sarah?" Jessica asked. David was quiet for a moment. "Sarah is comfortable, safe, but she's not you, Jess. She's never been you." I stepped out of the shadows. "No, she's not. They sprang apart like teenagers caught by parents." David's face went white. Jessica looked like she might be sick. "Sarah," David stammered. How did you?" I pulled the manila envelope from my purse and placed it on the table between them. "These are divorce papers. I'm filing tomorrow morning." David stared at the envelope like it might explode. "Sarah, please, let me explain." "Explain what? That you've been having an affair for 3 months? That you've been lying to me every single day? That you kissed her at my sister's wedding while I was standing 50 feet away?" Jessica started to speak, but I held up my hand. "Don't. Just don't." I looked at David one last time. This man who had been my husband, my partner, my future. I hope she's worth it. As I walked away, I heard David calling my name, but I didn't turn around. I had said everything I needed to say. Outside, the San Francisco fog was rolling in, blanketing the city in gray mist. I pulled out my phone and called Emma. "It's done," I said when she answered. "How do you feel?" I thought about it as I walked to my car, my heels clicking against the wet pavement. "Free," I said finally. "I feel free." And for the first time in months, that was the truth.